Hello YouTube, it's time to talk about the Lunafreya, one of the most hyped characters in this game's life cycle, definitely. All the NPCs have her eyes on her, and for good reason. I'll say it loud and I'll say it proud. I think you are actively an idiot if you skip her LD at minimum. I'm gonna just say that now. She is a broken character. Definitely in my category of characters that were a mistake, but she's also got a really fun kit, and she's actually really interesting and nuanced. So I plan to talk about that. The Charlotta's behind us, and as I'll talk about here, they do completely different things, as is apparent to anyone who's not an NPC, but you know, NPC's gonna NPC. But before I start ranting too much, in this video, before you pull on Lunafreya's event banners, I'm gonna review the units out here and use that information to guide my suggestions. I wanna hear your thoughts too, so leave a comment with your plans for the content and the banner, fights, etc. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you don't miss a video. I'm not even gonna pretend like I stream anymore. But you can become a channel member for $1. And I am almost to 5,000 subscribers, so let's see if we can hit that soon. And I have a bi-weekly talk show, it's not a podcast, Ranting Hour, where I talk about some other stuff. Last week we had Nidre, Goose, and Blart on, and then we had a really fun talk about Burnout and State of JP and Dare to Defy, so that's good. Fingers crossed we're getting Dare to Defy again next month, by the way. I would really love that. I'm recording this before the stream. I want to hear what your reductionist take of Lunafreya is. I've been doing this every video just because it's hilarious. I'm going to say that Lunafreya is basically a Ice Aphmau Leo with a burst. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, let's talk about her kit though. I'm an idiot. You guys are hilarious. Lunafreya is a magic support. She provides ice enchant to the party and water enchant while her FR is up, but not while it's not up. They're starting to add effects to FRs, which is pretty dandy. She grants buffs to the party. Well, one, she has an overhead whenever she acts. And once this goes to 4 stacks, you can choose which buff you give to a party member. Also, when you press her LD, depending on where party members are positioned, she will either give, and these are the same buffs she grants from her Transform Brave and HP for consecutive turns, or fixed damage. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but if I was in game, but Tonberry Troupe would probably have it easy. I won't worry about that. But she also provides burst heals and HP regen. At base, she provides either two turns of consecutive turns, and these are free, by the way, I believe, or fixed damage, but with her BT effect up, it will be 3. So let's talk about that BT effect, shall we? In total, if you have her blue, she's given 40% HP cap, Brave damage and HP cap 50%. Didn't calculate that with the blues because nobody really cares about that lately. HP damage 20%, didn't add that up, but she does give. I did add up the Brave gains from her buffs. That's 40%. So it's a pretty standard BT effect, but it's a very good one. But the real big thing about her BT is that whenever she grants a buff, the duration is up by 1. I did not write that down well at all. I'm just realizing that, but y'all know what I mean. Like I said, she grants 2 at base. So if you decide to give the one teammate the extra consecutive turns, it's going to be 2 unless her BT is effect up, which can be 3 totally, which can actually add up like crazy. It's pretty ridiculous. But you don't need this for her to be effective, but it definitely helps. I'd say you can feel the difference. You won't be mad if you have that up. Anyways, her FR condition, 20% when you do water damage, and the way her water enchant works is the same way that Rydia does. So you're always gonna, no, that's a lie, isn't it? What I meant to say was it works like Lulu, in which case no matter what element the party's doing, they'll always hit water. So this is guaranteeing you'll at least do 20% each time anybody does any damage. If they're non-elemental, Luna already ice enchants the party, so that's 40% right there, and 20% more if you buff someone else while you attack. So ideally, you're pairing her up with non-elemental units that buff people while they attack. So like Barret Skill 1, for example. Oh yeah, Lunafreya will enable the Barret sagas. But like I was saying before, she gets true water enchant. It overrides on her while her force time is active, and she provides more Brave and HP regen. You probably won't notice the difference in Brave regen, but the HP regen is there. Team synergy, so Core is an excellent option because of skill 1 and skill 2, they put the cover thing, or the link on party members, and he's non-elemental, so he'll hit all of Luna's conditions at once. Lunafreya, I believe, can only hit all of her conditions at once if she presses her LD, because that's what gives the party the buffs, and this is what attacks at the same time. So cover tanks, so Gladio, Orin, Gladio's who later this month, Orin, Galuf, when they press their cover moves, that will work. Noctis LD, I think all the 15 characters work well with her except Prompto and Arden. No, except Ignis and Arden, because they don't buff anybody, but Prompto does on his skill 1. Anyone who provides a shield like Warrior of Light or 9 will also work. And just non-elemental damage units in general, like even if you're not hitting that last 20%, doesn't mean you can't have a good force time, but you're probably going to want to lean in some of those type of units. I think Saw's skill 2 might work, Setzer skill 1, I don't have a full list, but the options are out there if you want to try and hit 60 at once. Just pretty nice, just a little tricky. So overall, my evaluation, she is an insane support. That cannot be understated. She's a really good character. That party turn control can set up some ridiculous stuff. There's some like crazy Enacro Hope shenanigans in the future. And just having the power to line up consecutive turns for anybody is such a great ability if you're doing like rush down stuff. Like if you're really trying to lean into that, then it can work really well. She's got just a fun kit in general. I mean, the positional stuff, the nuance, like what do you want to play Luna as? She can be whatever you need her to be. Almost. She doesn't hit every condition, but that consecutive turn thing, again, is really powerful. You can put a consecutive turn thing on your damage dealer, and you could put the fixed damage thing on your off-turn unit, or you could lean fully into off-turn, or you could lean fully into just rushing them down. She can do it all. Very good character. Broken LD call. The way her LD call works is it's the same positional stuff, but whoever uses the call will get 2 consecutive turns. So this ends up being very good for setting up force times with bursts and just rushing down. Her LD call is easily like Kurosame, Sid Reigns, broken LD call tier. Like I said in the beginning, if you skip this LD call, you are actually a dumbass. This is a broken LD call. And lastly, she can actually work at a budget. I'd say 80, I pulled this number out of my ass, 80-90% of the effectiveness of Lunafreya is in that LD. So if you're not sure if you want to lean into that BT to get that extra turn, and again, that BT is good. It does add up, but even without it, Luna can still be a good character. She can still be a charger. She can still be a support. So if you're trying to run budget Luna, or you only want those turn setups later down the road, that's an option as well. And I'd argue probably a bunch of people probably don't need to be gunning for a BT and FR, and then but I'll go into that in the end of the video. Weakness-wise, elements. We are a month and a half out when the elemental lockouts kick in for like 3 months, and you can play Luna through these by letting her drop her EX buff so she doesn't enchant the party anymore and not pressing her FR, but that's a little annoying. And if you are just using her to charge and get out, there's not really any point. You could, because Selfie is a month away, and probably be better off using Selfie for that. And her FR condition, it's a little bit restrictive, I'd say. Non-elemental plus granting the party buffs is not a trying to hit that consistent 60, especially because Lunafreya herself again can't really hit that outside of pressing her LD. She can hit that 20% when she's granting a buff from her Transform Braven HP, but I mean it's not great. So I think the FR might be the weakest part of her kit. I'd say again the LD is really the cash money. Now Ultimecia. She's a magic damage dealer that gives herself consecutive free turns. With her C90 now, she got recast up, and she got 2 free skills after using EX, and she acts consecutively after using her EX. So she can just spam skills, and she will just never run out, especially because her LD recovers the skill. She goes nuts. She's got gravity. With her BT effect, it got updated to have like HP cap and just regular standard BT aura stuff. But now it's 6 turns, and whenever ulti has her BT effect up and attacks anyone, if it's an AoE attack, they will get their turn deleted. So she can just send them to the Shadow Realm. And she's got minor debuffs, defense down, sap, etc. Nothing big there. Ulti can drive generic FRs because she's non-elemental. She still kind of suffers the same fate that Turn Hog is doing in this era, just because you eat through force times when you're up. But if she's driving something with off-turn follow-ups in the background like Yang, Core, Kane, you know it, Cisne, she can really get the job done, but you just have to lean on that. But yeah, she got a good update, I'd say. Lion deals all kinds of damage. She has a range attack, she has a melee attack, she's got a magic attack. She does Dispel on her EX, and her EX is up pretty fast. She's got minor debuffs. Her damage got updated with her C90. That was the most substantial thing. Like her follow-up does 2 HP attacks. Her LD is big damage. Otherwise, she has pretty I think 6 HP attacks on everything at minimum across the board, and she's got high turn rate. So she can fit a lot of team comps. She's not really special at anything, but it was a good upgrade. But nothing to write home about. Yang, I think, is probably the number 2 best glow up on this banner. He's a melee damage dealer, and he follows up after the party attacks or after the enemy attacks. So he is doing this consistently. Previously, it was was it 2 turns of that buff he had? Now he starts with it and it lasts for I think 8 turns. So he's following up the entire battle, similar to Kayn, Cisne, not quite Cisne because Cisne doesn't work on enemy turns, but yeah, he's always attacking. He's got a counter attack occasionally as well, so he can do a lot of off-turn damage, or he can help boost damage within a BT phase. He also prevents the party from being breakable. So yeah, Yang does a lot of damage on his turns now, and he has 2 HP attacks in the off turns. So he's actually got a very good upgrade, and he can work with off turn FRs down the line. Now Basch isn't getting anything here but force enhancement. He's a melee tank, provides taunt. He redirects HP damage to himself if it's AoE, and so he'll keep the party alive. He gets good party buffs, and he can burst heal the party and battery them. Nothing really to write home about here, but Basch is good at just sitting there and helping people not die. He heals himself back up. He's pretty much invincible unless they have piercing attacks. But there's no Lunafreya orbs to insta-kill him now, so there's that. And lastly, we have Seifer. Seifer is not getting a kit update, but he is getting force enhanced. Range damage dealer, he's got delays provided his buff and debuffer up. He's a minor debuffer. He does have his EX debuff that prevents the enemy from doing brave damage on their turn. It's only 1 turn, but because you're pushing them back, it's up a lot more than you think. And he reduces enemy brave gains. But Seifer has pretty decent damage. I think he's got like, what, 5 or 6 HP attacks across the board. So if you're running a delay comp, or even if you're just using his LD call, I'd say solid all around. So, to wrap it all up, before I go over 15 minutes, before you pull on Lunafreya, what do I think? What would I recommend? My personal plans, I'm only gonna gun for her LD call. I built her fully in JP, and I sort of regret it. And this isn't to dissuade anyone from running her, because again, I can't say it enough. This is a broken character. This is a broken character. She can enable so much, those consecutive turns are ridiculous, but I want people to evaluate what they're going to get out of her, because if you're only interested in the gauge charging and the consecutive turn setups, let's think a month or so into the future, because I brought up the lockouts, right? It's going to be a little harder to use Lunafreya. I'm not going to say it's impossible, because there are some fights that do fine with ice, but if her only role is going to be to gauge charge and set up some consecutive turns, what might happen in practice, and this is what happened with me, was like Selfie came out next month, who could potentially fill that role of charging and getting out and setting up, because I know y'all, if you're running these rushdown comps, you're probably going to charge with Selfie, put up her debuff, and get her out of there. And then what you could do instead is put that Lunafreya call on the person you're gonna rush down with, probably Tifa, run a bunch of non-elemental units, and then get the value there. And then run it off turn in 3rd slot instead. Luna's a really good character, she's really fun, but I think people are hype about her for the wrong reasons. But if you are planning to lean fully into her kit, go for it, because you will be rewarded. I do think the FR is the weakest part of her kit, so invest in Luna as appropriate. I'd say at minimum, every single person who plays this game should get that LD call, because it is entirely too good and lends itself to a lot of good setups. Again, LD call, get that at minimum. She is broken. If you get her BT, if you're gonna green it, if you're gonna go nuts for it, make sure you're actually gonna press it. The extra turn on everything does add up, especially because it's an extra turn for everybody. Luna, it could be an extra turn for everybody, let me say that. Luna and the other 2 party members. So instead of 6 consecutive turns for the party, that's 9. That's very good, but again, be sure you're going to use it. And her FR is a little tricky, but if you're running like Core, Gladio, Orin, Galuf, or units like that, then you can lean into it. But again, make sure you're going to use it. Same thing I was saying in Titus' video. As for her banner though, if you're really gonna get the BT, I'd say get it on Aroha's banner, just because Aroha is a pretty more flexible FR. You can get 50% every turn off of her banner. Isn't that great, honestly. I wouldn't recommend anyone pick up Basch or Lion at this point, but I would recommend ticketing the Ultimecia banner, not for ulti, but for Seifer's calls, because they can be handy in a pinch for delays, or if you're having trouble with the previous Cloud of Darkness event. Or Yang. Yang is an excellent off-turn damage dealer, and supplementing a bunch of FRs potentially. He's really good with the Feign, and just having that off-turn condition is really helpful, and you really can't have enough off-turn stuff, especially with Dare to Defy potentially being a thing again. So overall, I'd say the LDs you should pick up here are at minimum Lunafreya and Yang. If you want to stretch and get Seifer, that'd be a good idea, and really evaluate the way you're going to be playing with lockouts on around the horizon, charges around the horizon being Selfie, rushdowns around the horizon with Tifa. You can use Lunafreya, and you won't be mad at it, but I want to prevent cases where people are going into this blindly and then they end up not using the character that much. I mean, it's gonna happen because that's just the nature of how things get hyped in this community. But at least the people who see this video, I want you to think about it. Think about whether you're gonna press her FR, think about whether you're gonna press her BT, think about whether she just end up as an LD call for you in a month or so from now. I mean, if that's okay and you got her full kit, go for it. But you know, all for thinking things through and not being an NPC. I unfortunately went over 15 minutes. It's way too long. But that's all I had to say, though. Let me know what you guys think again, and let me hear your reductionist takes. Hope this was informative. I've been kind of talking about this in my streams and whatnot. And yeah, good luck on your polls. Can't wait to... I don't know. It'd be like that sometimes. Have a good one, y'all. I'm getting the LD call for sure. And I'll catch y'all later. All right? Peace.